255 Brazilians will be repatriated today. We understand that this is the second and last repatriation flight. More than 1,000 Germans have also been sent back home. Our reporter Aviwe Mtila tracking the plans for the Brazilian repatriation. Joining us now from Boksburg. Aviwe, very good morning to you. You've been watching the story for a couple of hours now, and the first batch having gone already a few days ago. The second one, give us some idea of just the logistics involved in this and the precautions as well for those of us catching up with the story.
Well, Iveka, you'd see the buses behind me, 3 of them, in fact, that would make up 8 buses that will, in fact, go to the airport, leaving here at the Boksburg Hotel. The hotel itself is actually closed at the moment, but this is just merely the assembly point where around 119 Germans will be departing from Johannesburg to Cape Town, where they'll meet up with a further 136 Brazilians, I beg your pardon, which essentially makes up 255. You do understand that on the 1st of April, already 300 Brazilians have left for Brazil. That in fact was a LATAM flight, but we understand this particular flight is a SAA flight. But just to get more on the logistics that go behind this, I am joined by a Brazilian diplomat, Rafael Leal. Rafael, thank you for joining us at eNCA, but we'll be keeping our social distance, of course. But just to get a better understanding, especially from the two governments working hand in hand, what processes and behind the scenes, what went into making this 255 Brazilians go home?
So it's like a war operation, and I think this whole logistic process shows how good is the partnership between the South African government and the Brazilian government. Just to give you an idea, we are having 7 buses and 1 van. They have traveled more than 1,000 kilometers to get here, to get passengers, Brazilians, from Durban to Bloemfontein, to bring them here and now to the airport. We have people, like 180 people, going to the Joburg airport and 138 in Cape Town. And I just would like to thank all the South African authorities for all the help, especially DIRCO, the Department of Transport, the South African Police, and also the Airport Company of South Africa for all the effort that they had put in this to make this happen and to make sure that no Brazilian is left behind in South Africa.
So we understand, Rafael, that this is merely an assembly point, but can you get us a better understanding of the logistics that will happen today? We understand the flight leaves in Cape Town, that's correct now?
Yes. We have about 30 people working here in Joburg to make this operation happen, and we have 30 more in Cape Town working effortlessly, non-stop for 10 days. So we are gathering all the passengers here at Boksburg Hotel. From here we're going to be escorted by the police to get to the airport. Because of the lockdown, everything is closed. There is no access to the airport. So we need to bring everybody here, put them in buses. From here we move to the airport, where we're going to have a health check. And then we're going to have a check-in for the passengers to board the flight. Then the flight is going to take off, get to Cape Town, where we're going to board 138 passengers, and from there we go to Brazil.
Just to get further understanding, we understand that you'll be leaving essentially at about 6 o'clock this evening. But can you get us a better understanding? Are there any South Africans? Do you know of how many South Africans are in Brazil? And will they be coming back with this SAA flight?
We don't. We, as the Brazilian government, we don't have the number of South Africans in Brazil that want to come back to South Africa. But the Embassy of South Africa in Brazil is working on that and making sure that they will, and working in a way that they can be coming back. We, as the government of Brazil, we don't have the information about how that operation is going to happen to bring the South Africans back here.
Just more curiously, who is funding the flight itself? Is there indication on that?
Yes, of course. This flight has been funded by the government of Brazil. It's an effort to bring home all the Brazilians that are here in South Africa in this difficult time with the COVID-19 and want to come back home. So the Brazilian government has been funding flights from several places of the world for Brazilians that want to go back to Brazil so they can be at home at these difficult times.
Thank you very much. That is a Brazilian diplomat, Rafael Leal, basically telling us that 255 Brazilians will be repatriated back home on what he describes a war, basically the efforts that go behind the scenes. It seems like a war. You'd understand that Brazil itself is faced with the coronavirus pandemic, with over 11,000 people testing positive for COVID-19 there, and over 400 of them sadly passing away.